In the last episode, we had a look a bit at the history of mixing consoles. So in this episode, we'll be looking at the mixer components, roles, and definitions. So what is a channel? A channel is a designated path on an audio mixer where an external audio source connects. Each channel typically represents one source, be it a microphone, instrument, or any other audio device. As you can see on this mixer, this green part here represents a channel. It's basically a representative of the signal. It takes in the signal and then you get to interact with the signal through this channel. Alright, we have different types of input channels. There are two main types of input channels on a mixer. We have the mic inputs. These inputs are designed to be used with dynamic and condenser microphones. Mic inputs have a high input impedance and gain, which is necessary to amplify the weak signal from a microphone. Line inputs or instrument inputs are designed to be used with line level signal, such as synthesizers, electric guitars, and keyboards. Line inputs have a lower input impedance and gain than mic inputs. What does that mean? Think of impedance as a special kind of resistance that affects how well electrical signals, like music or sound, can travel through wires and into speakers. In live sound, the terms low impedance and high impedance refer to the electrical characteristic of audio equipment, particularly microphones and speakers. These characteristics can affect the quality and efficiency of audio signal. So here's what we're saying. We're saying that in order to reduce noise in a signal, sometimes it is better to have an input channel that will resist. It will resist electricity. In that way, it will block out noise and allow only the loud signal, which is the original signal, to pass through. In this example, I get to switch between the line and the instrument level. And so please pay attention to the ground noise. That's a bit of an explanation of high impedance and low impedance. Other type of inputs, we have stereo inputs. These inputs accept two signals, such as the left and the right channels of a stereo keyboard or synthesizer. Stereo inputs are typically used to connect stereo devices to the mixer. Digital inputs accept digital signals, such as those from digital audio workstations and digital effect processors. Digital inputs are typically optical or coaxial connectors. Some mixers have input channels that are specifically designed for certain type of devices, such as CD players, MP3s, and turntables. The next component we're going to look at are faders, or short for fader control, are sliding controls on an audio mixer that regulate the volume of individual audio channels. They are hands-on tools for shaping the dynamic balance of your mix. What are they used for? By adjusting faders, you shape the overall sound, emphasizing or attenuating specific elements. Let's talk about the type of faders. We have linear faders. Linear faders have a linear response, meaning that the volume of the signal increases or decreases in a straight line as the fader is moved. Linear faders are typically used for general mixing tasks, such as adjusting the volume of individual instruments or vocals. We also have logarithmic faders. Logarithmic faders have a logarithmic response. Logarithmic faders are typically used for mastering, as they allow a more precise control over the volume of the overall mix. So those were the type of faders according to their response. But how about according to their usage? According to the fader usage, we have channel faders. These are very obviously found on each individual channel strip. These faders control the volume of a specific input source, such as a microphone or instrument, and are very easily seen. We have the master fader. Located at the end of the mixer, the master fader adjusts the overall output level of the entire mix. It's to ultimate volume control. Group faders. Some mixers have group faders that control the combined volume of multiple channels, allowing you to manage related instruments collectively. And then in digital mixers, we have what we call assignable faders. These faders can often be assigned different parameters, not just volume. This versatility adds a layer of control of various effects or EQ adjustments. Alright, a bit of a conclusion there. So faders are an essential tool for mixing audio. They allow you to control the volume of individual audio channels. They allow you to create fades, automate the mixing process, and more. With a good understanding of how faders work, you can improve the sound of your mixes and create more professional sounding recordings. The next component on the mixer is the pan controls. Pan controls on a mixer, short for panorama controls, is a knob or slider that controls the position of an audio signal in the stereo sound field. Pan controls are typically found on all types of mixers, from small analog mixers to large digital mixers. The roles of pan controls. Pan controls play an important role in mixing audio. They allow you to 1. Create a more realistic stereo image by positioning different instruments and vocals in the different parts of the stereo field, either left or right. They help you avoid frequency maxing by separating instruments that occupy the same frequency range. They create a sense of movement in the mix by panning instruments from one side of the stereo field to the other. The next component on the mixer is the equalization. The EQ allows adjustment of the frequency response of each channel. This typically includes a semi-parametric EQ, but that varies according to each mixer. We also have auxiliary sends. Auxiliary channels are like side roads in your mixer. You can divert a bit of a track down these paths for different treatments, often used for creating monitor mixes or sending signals to external effects. Those are Auxes. These are the ones that you use to send your signal to these outputs. This one send the signal to an output that you will choose. There are two types of auxiliary sends. We have the pre-fader and the post-fader. The pre-fader auxiliary sends take a copy of the signal before the channel fader. Pre-fader, before the fader. This means that any changes you make to the channel fader will not affect the level of the signal sent to the auxiliary send. The post-fader auxiliary, on the other hand, take a copy of the signal after the channel fader. This means that any changes you make to the channel fader will also affect the level of the signal sent to the auxiliary send. And we'll have a look more about this when we come to balancing and mixing. Auxiliary sends play an important role in mixing audio. They allow you to send signals to effect processors such as reverb, delay, and choruses. They allow you to create monitor mixes so that performers can hear themselves on stage, to group together multiple channels and process them as a single unit. They allow you to record individual tracks to a multi-track recorder. Alright, that was just a brief overview of the mixer components. See you in the next lesson.